Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Welcome all again!
Oh, yeah. What's up, Vegas? Happy Monday. The Vegas Take back at you. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. If anybody out there cares. Boy, do we have a lot to get to today. We got a lot to talk about.
Nobody cares.
You're probably right. Anyway, that would be Sharp. Of course, it's Monday. Chris Wynn in studio as well.
What's up?
Got a fun show lined up for you. Coming up in hour number 2, Kim Goldman's going to be joining us. Of course, the sister to the late Ronald Goldman, who was brutally murdered. God, what was it, 1989? 1990? Long time ago. And
1994.
Around that time. I was a little off on that one. But, O.J. Simpson's decided to go on social media. So we're going to talk to her about that. Also, our tennis guru, Barry Brandt, will be joining us in hour number 2. But before we get to all this stuff, we got a big announcement to make. We've been wanting to make this announcement for a long time. Now we're allowed to make it. So this is pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, we've been sitting on this for right around 6 weeks.
So we have the announcement that we are not only going to be expanding the show. Should have had a drum roll, but we'll just go with it. It's okay. Not only are we expanding the show to 3 hours, but we're moving to, I would say it's a prime time slot. I think you could call it that, 9 a.m. to noon. It's a big deal. And we take pride in what we do here. You know, I've been in Vegas. I'll briefly tell my story. I've been in Vegas almost 20 years. I moved to Vegas in my early 20s. And wasn't exactly doing what I always wanted to do. My passion was not necessarily being a news reporter. Sports reporting was fun. I actually worked here at KDWN 13, 14 years ago. And job was fine, but I wasn't doing what I always wanted to do. And then, 6 years ago, I was offered my own morning show, and it was great. It was in a small station, but it was fun. I really enjoyed it, and I said, this is what I want to do. And if somebody told me 13 or 14 years ago, hey, at this station, you're going to be doing 9 to noon, I would have been jumping for joy. This is something I've always wanted to do. I've lived in this town for a long time. There's a reason why we call this show the Vegas Take. There's a reason for that. Because it is a take from people like myself who have been in this town for almost 20 years. We give opinions from a Vegas perspective. There's a reason why we always take your calls. There's a reason why. Because we want this show to be interactive. We want it to be about you just as much as about anybody else that we have on this show. We take pride in the guests we have on. And we're really happy. So this is going to start August 12th. Monday, August 12th is when we make the switch 9 a.m. to noon. And having that extra hour, obviously, it's a great thing. It means more content, a lot more breaking news. I love the time slot. Certainly, JD, I'm going to have to get used to waking up a little bit earlier.
It means even more Donald Trump, which is all we really care about anyways.
Well, that's not true. That certainly doesn't mean more Donald Trump, but it definitely means more news, more local news. We can focus a lot on a lot of things that are happening here at home and abroad, of course. And, we're always going to make the show interactive. We're always going to listen to people out there that are passionate about the issues that we talk about. I can tell you something right now. I don't talk about anything on the air that I'm not passionate about. I don't talk about anything on the air that I don't want to talk about. I always bring up subjects that mean something to you. Hopefully it means something to you, certainly meaning something to me. It doesn't matter which subject it is. I don't like talking about things that do not interest me. And, yeah, Donald Trump is one of those issues, but, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, you know what the extra hour also means? It means more J.D. Sharp, which we all love in Vegas.
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's a good thing.
It's amazing because we started at KDWN. I met J.D. a year ago at the poker table.
Yep.
And met him and his wife, and we had a great conversation. I was working at another station at the time, and we started off doing a weekly show. And I thought it would turn into something great. I didn't think it would turn into something this fast. And what I mean by that is we started doing this weekly thing. Then we started doing an hour a day during the week. Then all of a sudden we're going to 2 hours a day. And now all of a sudden we're going to 3 hours a day, 9 a.m. to noon. If you ask me, give me a time slot, that would be it. It's great.
Yeah, in 1 year, this show has, roughly 15 months, this show has progressed from a once a week on a Sunday night type of deal to 3 hours every day in the primetime slot. In the next and probably the fastest growing market in the United States of America. And one thing Brian did not tell our listeners is that I gave him 10 winners in a row in Major League Baseball, because that's why I'm a professional sports bettor handicapper. I moved here 2 years ago from Omaha, Nebraska. I moved in May of 2017. I believe I met Brian in probably maybe August or September of that same year. But I gave Brian, it was either 9-1 or 10-0 in Major League Baseball, and that kind of started our budding friendship/radio relationship.
Well, listen, when I hear somebody is a sports handicapper, I think they're full of doo-doo, usually when they say that. I'm like, yeah, right. It's another guy who's trying to sell his picks, who's lying, who probably, and then you gave me a bunch of people. I'm like, okay, I guess this guy knows what he's doing.
And not only that, there was a site called cappertech.com where sports handicappers can go there and they can post their plays, have a third-party source to look at it. And I was number 1 in the world on that site at that time, so that helped too.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't know we were going to go that much into detail about your sports handicapping, but hey, that is true, though. That is a true story. And now here we are. And I'm really excited, and I want to thank a few people, besides you, of course, JD. I want to thank the people here at KDWN and Beasley Broadcasting. John Schaefer is a fantastic program director. He came to KDWN with me 14 years ago. I worked with him, and I'm so happy to say that he's going to jump with us on the air. When we start this morning thing, he's going to be our Robin Quivers, so to speak, to an extent. He's going to be our news anchor, and I'm really excited about that. John is a great guy. He does a really, really good job here. And like I said, we just want to thank everybody in this building that have been very supportive of what we're doing, and it's a great feeling.
And not only that, but contributors to the show, like Chris Wynn, who's sitting next to me, Brian Feldman, Jameson Welsh, Ron Futrell. The list goes on and on and on.
Sure.
All you guys have been instrumental in helping us, build a fan base and a listenership and getting us to this point.
By the way, how dare you not bring up the golf guru, Dennis Silvers?
And obviously Dennis Silvers.
Dennis, we love you. No, but you're right. Good point. All the people that come on our show, they're all a part of it. And certainly all of you out there listening in, you're a part of it as well. So again, let me mention this one more time. We'll remind you guys, don't worry, but this show is going to be expanding to 3 hours. We're moving 9 a.m. to noon, and that is starting Monday, August 12th. We could not be more excited about it. We're so happy. I'm giddy. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I can promise you one thing. We're going to work our asses off to make this the best show in Las Vegas. I mean that wholeheartedly. We are going to work our butts off to give you the best content, to bring you the best guests, and opinionated talk radio. And it's not going to change from my standpoint. I'll tell you that right now. I'm always going to say things on the air that I believe, whether you like it or not. It's always going to be opinions, and we're always going to take your phone calls and hear your side of things.
And everything we say, we believe. Also, this is going to give us an opportunity to get a lot of guests that right now, like entertainers who are performing at casinos all over the city, they're going to be, like right now during our show, they're on stage.
Well, I know JD...
We'll get a chance to get them in the morning because they're not going to be on stage.
I know JD for months has had his heart set on Barry Manilow.
Manilow, Newton, the list goes on and on and on. Obviously, why Newton's asleep right now.
But that's a great point, though, JD, because there's so many functions that go on in this town where you guys are on the air between 6 and 8 o'clock, right, that you have not had the opportunity to go and actually, either cover or have an opportunity to get people on the air for your show.
Like my beloved Aces. I haven't had a chance to watch enough of their games this year.
And we'll actually be able to go to some games at night, too. So anyway, a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it, folks. We appreciate all your support, and we hope that in August you will switch over and listen to us mornings, 9 a.m. to noon, starting August 12th. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're worried, are they going to change their show around at all? No, for the most part, our show is going to remain the same. Like I said, like we start up our show, a take on Vegas, from Vegas, you won't really get anywhere else. And so appreciate that. And now let's get down to business, folks. And let's start with what is the news of the weekend. And I believe it to be very, very important because I think it shows the true colors of our president. He said some things on Twitter over the weekend that you certainly could make as racist statements. And what I'm talking about, what he's talking about, and what we're all talking about here is the 4 Democratic congresswomen that he went after on Twitter saying, go back to your crime-infested places. He went, go back to your country. Go ahead. Make your country better. Then if you want, you can come back. He went on an absolute Twitter tangent in regards to Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Talib, and Ayanna Pressley. Now, why is this important? Well, first of all, let's just speak facts. Okay, 3 of those 4 women, this is how idiotic the president is. 3 out of those 4 women were born in the United States of America. Okay, they weren't born somewhere else. Ocasio-Cortez is from New York. They were born in this country, and Omar became a U.S. citizen. She came here as a refugee when she was a teenager. So you want to talk about an ignorant, racist statement? That is exactly what the president said. Now, the problem is, at least in my personal opinion, we have two different Americas in this country, and it shows you how divided we are as a country. What do I mean by that? Well, in one America, people are reacting with shock about the president's racist tweets, right? I mean, I think we all in this room are surprised, and we think it's disgusting. And then in another America, people are not saying anything. There are many Republicans out there that are not opening up their mouths because I call them cowards. In one America, people seem to speak out in protest, after the president claims that, if you remember what he said about the S-hole countries, do you remember that statement that he said?
Vividly.
Immigrants come from S-hole countries, and then some people on the right seem to nod in agreement. And you could say in one America, people become outraged when administration officials snatch migrant children from their mothers' arms and detain them for weeks. People remain silent, some on the right, when it comes to this issue. And then some people condemn a president for describing protesters alongside neo-Nazis as very fine people, but other people shrug. So we have two different Americas here. There's one America where people are honest and logical. And by the way, there are Republicans out there. Some have finally come out in regards to the president's horrific tweets about these 4 congresswomen, but many have not, gentlemen. And it's disgusting. It's vile. Yes, I do believe it's racist when you say go back to your country. Even if they were born in other countries, it's still racist. And it's disgusting. And, obviously these 4 women, you could disagree with them, their policies. You don't have to agree with all the policies in this country to necessarily mean that you hate this country. That doesn't make any sense. What these 4 women are doing, and by the way, I don't always agree with them. I don't agree with Omar all the time. I believe she's made some anti-Semitic remarks. Don't always agree with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. At the border should never be compared to concentration camps. I don't always agree with these politicians, but we don't have to. But we could still be decent to one another. It doesn't mean we have to be racist to one another. The president of the United States put out a racist tweet, period. And I want to get both of your thoughts on this, and then I want to play some cuts from these women that held this press conference.
Okay, so the issue here is he was trying to prove that the pot is calling the kettle black by saying, okay, the countries that you come from aren't doing so well. If you hate America so much, why don't you go back there? And by doing that, and the problem with what he said, and you were 100% spot on, is because 3 of these women were literally born in the United States. And the only way to connect them to those countries is to look at their skin, which by default is racism. And then that's the biggest issue with this. Now, do I agree with him that these women are just complaining about the United States when the place that I guess their skin origins are connected to, those places aren't fantastic? Yes, I agree with that to a degree. But the way that he presented this was, honestly, it was just stupid.
As you both can imagine, this has become a lightning rod topic in the last 24 hours on both sides. And by both sides, I mean this. I mean Trump supporters, and I mean the GOP and Republicans, right? And Republicans that have a voice, really. Republicans that have a platform in Washington, D.C. And then everybody else who is either a never-Trumper or doesn't support the president. And it's been described as a watershed moment. Brian, you started off the show by saying it's a big moment. I think it's a watershed moment because it's not like it's some obscure representative in the House from southern Utah or southern Montana that made these statements. And let's keep in mind, if it was someone like that, right? If it was a lawmaker from some small place
what if,
that had no power whatsoever.
What if Steve King said this?
He'd get absolutely slaughtered, as he has been because of statements that he's made in the past, right? But that's my point, JD. If it was anybody else, right, in American politics that had said what President Trump said on Sunday, they would be getting absolutely annihilated. It'd be talked about how fast can we get them out of office? How fast can we get them out of power? How fast can we get them out of D.C.?
No question.
And the fact of the matter is that and that's what you cannot, Brian and JD, you cannot emphasize enough the disgust from most Americans when they heard this coming from not just some obscure representative, not just some senator from Vermont or Massachusetts, but the president of the United States.
Oh, no doubt. I completely agree with you. I also think it's important to hear from these four women who the president attacked in this racist rant. I also will open up the phone lines at 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part of the program, give us a buzz at 257-5396. Let's first hear from Ayanna Pressley. Of course, she's the representative for Massachusetts' 7th Congressional District, one of the women that Donald Trump was going after. And by the way, I do find it ironic these four people happen to be women, and they happen to be brown. I mean, put 2 and 2 together here, or in this case, 4 and 4 together, whatever you want to call it. Here is Representative Ayanna Pressley in the press conference today.
I will always refer to him as the occupant, as he is only occupying space. He does not embody the grace, the empathy, the compassion, the integrity that office requires and that the American people deserve.
Could not agree more. Okay, you can disagree with the president's policies, dislike him for the stuff he does, but, again, you need to show some respect for office. And listen, I'm not a big Omar fan. She is represented for Minnesota's 5th Congressional District. She came out here as a refugee, as a teenager. Not a big fan of hers, but she was also at this press conference, and here's what she said. She makes a really good point here.
This is a president who has openly violated the very value our country aspires to uphold. And to distract from that, he's launching a blatantly racist attack on 4 duly elected members of the United States of House of Representatives, all of whom are women of color.
And of course,
spot on.
Yeah,
right, Brian?
Absolutely spot on. Now, again, I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and none of these women speak for all Democrats, but to say that they need to go back to their country, fix the problems over there when 3 of these 4 were born in this country is ridiculous. Here's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at the press conference today.
The first note that I want to tell children across this country is that no matter what the president says, this country belongs to you.
Again, could not agree more. The idea that you can't critique policy in this country, and if you do, you must hate America, is one of the most ignorant things a president has ever said in the history of this country. I want to end this with Representative Rashida Talib, who was also at this press conference, the 4th person of the 4 that the president attacked.
Sadly, this is not the first, nor will it be the last time we hear disgusting, bigoted language from the president. We know this is who he is, and we know that he and his administration are constantly engaged in actions that harm residents and American people in our country.
Well, sadly, I agree with her. I think this does harm the country. I think it's very divisive. And let me give out that number one more time if you want to be a part of the program. What are your thoughts on this? Are we overreacting? Do you think that the comments that the president made were just fine and dandy to you? I'll hear from you. I'll hear you out on this one. I think everybody in this studio disagrees. It was utterly ridiculous. It was ignorant. And you could make the case it was racist. Let me give out the number, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, 257-5396.
And what Representative Talib was talking about, of course, is the laundry list of things that you have mentioned, Brian and JD, on this show a number of times. Obviously, the speech in 2015 when he talked about Mexicans being rapists and murderers, but he thinks that some are good people. Yeah. There was obviously the scenario that went down with Judge Curiel in Indiana, a man who grew up in Indiana. But President Trump decided to say, hey, he can't do his job because he's Mexican. He wouldn't be able to do his job correctly because he's Mexican. Everybody in America understands what went down in Charlottesville and what he said after Charlottesville about there being good people on both sides. And look, you all know what's going to happen, Brian and JD, when the phone calls come in, and if people are going to try to defend the president, they're going to try to twist themselves into pretzels and talk about what he really meant to say and what he really was meaning when he was making these statements. It's going to come. You know it's coming.
Let's find out at 257-5396. Let's start off with Brian. Brian, what's going on?
You stole my line, Chris.
I knew you were going to. Brian, I knew it was coming, my friend. Give it to me. So what? So what's the deal? What did he really mean?
Yourself into a pretzel. That's what I accused you, you and Brian of numerous times on this program. But first, let me start out by saying congratulations on the new show in the daytime hour.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's pretty incredible stuff.
Thank you.
You guys are going in a very, very tough time slot. I'm sure you're well aware that you're going against the number one talk show host in all of America.
Well,
yes, sir.
I weigh about a fourth of what he weighs,
Hey,
so he carries more weight than me.
Hey, Brian, what's his name again?
I don't know what his name is. I don't know.
El Rushbo, baby.
Oh,
He's a guy.
okay.
He's a guy who doesn't like African-American quarterbacks who got fired from ESPN. That must be the guy you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Brian.
whose producer is an African-American.
Yeah.
Well,
isn't that something? Isn't that something? Okay, so what do you make? All right, enough about that fatso. Let's talk about what we're talking about here on the show. Donald Trump.
Okay, you asked the question. Are you guys overreacting? Yes, as usual. Michael Avenatti had a guest on 2 weeks ago on your program, the political guy that was talking about the 2020 race and stuff.
Yes.
And one of the things he said was, you guys who are anti-Trumpers need to quit lighting your hair on fire every night because it's not helping the situation.
Well, okay, let me respond to that. And first of all, say I don't speak for Democrats. I'm not trying to get anybody elected. I'm giving you my opinion, Brian. And in my personal opinion, no matter who wins in 2020, I'm telling it like it is. I'm not saying it for any other reason. When you say go to your country, go back to your country, and not only that, but 3 or 4 of these women were born in the United States of America, it is pure, least case scenario, ignorant, purely ignorant and ridiculous.
Now, ignorant, I could agree with. Racist, absolutely not.
So go back to your country has no racial connotations whatsoever.
No. And another thing I would say is, let's go back to when this all started last week. This started when these 4 women accused Nancy Pelosi of coming after them, women of color. That's the statement they made about her.
2 wrongs do not make a right.
Trump says, how dare they call Nancy Pelosi a racist? Because she's not. I disagree with her. We go the rounds all the time. I know Nancy is not a racist.
Show me the quote where one of these 4 women called Nancy Pelosi flat out a racist.
Well, they said that she's coming after them. She's not supporting them. She's putting them in.
So how do you correlate that to a racist?
The limelight, because we are women of color was their statement.
Okay, well, they didn't call Nancy a racist.
You'll find out I'm correct.
All right.
Ocasio-Cortez definitely called Nancy Pelosi a racist.
But they didn't. No, she didn't call her
that's
a racist.
True.
And they didn't call Nancy Pelosi a racist because she's not a racist. Okay, I mean,
no, she's not a racist.
There's a method to the madness. Okay, when we're talking about Donald Trump, we're not just coming out of the blue and calling him a racist. We're using actual examples that have happened in the past that are documented, that we can see and hear and almost touch when it comes to the president and what he says.
257-5396. Let's go to Brady. Brady, what's going on?
Yeah, right on. Actually, last week, Nancy Pelosi was accused of being a racist, and she called in people the squad. That's where that term came from, because she said 4 members of my party ain't going to change the Democrat Party. But obviously, you can see what AOC is doing, Talib, this Pressley lady, the sorcerers of that party. You know, it's not right. Donald Trump is a nationalist. You got to remember that. He's someone who believes in the interest of our nation. And when he says to them people, go back to your country, I have no problem with that at all, because they are anti-American. Look at their agenda.
They're from the United States of America. What are you talking about? You're saying go back to they're from the United States of America. One was born in Michigan. One has been living here since she was a teenager in Minnesota. The other 2 are they're from the United States. What are you talking about?
Listen, Brady, I think you need...
how about they just leave then to where maybe some of their origins are from?
Okay, there you go.
Brady, you know what I want you to do, Brady? I want you to go back to Afghanistan and go live in a cave and go back to your country. That's what I want. Let's go to Glenn. Glenn, what's going on?
First of all, the last person you talked to, you just said go back to Afghanistan. That's racist.
Yeah, I agree. But the difference was I was joking. Okay. That's the difference. It's called levity. I'm trying to be ignorant. Okay, that was a joke, and I'm making levity of the fact that caller was a complete moron and an ignoramus. Okay, that was a joke.
And I would agree. Now, everybody in this world, everybody in the U.S. is racist. I don't give a shit. Yep, everybody is racist.
What do you mean? That's not true. No, I disagree with you. I'm not a racist. No, I disagree with you. I'm not. No, I'm not.
There's a difference. I can kind of see the direction you're going here. I think everybody in this country is not colorblind.
All right.
I think people have a perspective, but that doesn't mean that they have a negative connotation about people of other colors.
Glenn,
why do you think? Races.
Glenn, make your case. Go ahead. Why do you think everybody in the United States is racist?
Well, my point is you keep going to Trump being racist. Trump being racist. Trump's not being racist. He just made a comment.
No,
He's not being racist.
And I'm not saying that he was racist.
Just like Hispanic comment, just like AOC, Native comment. You know, it's all just comments. It's not really being racist.
Hey, have you ever heard the phrase, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, waddles like a duck, it's a duck?
Yep.
Okay, well, that you can kind of put that on there, right?
The issue is that Trump, call it racist, it may not necessarily be negative towards the race, but he brought race into the equation because these women were born in the United States. And the only way to make that statement is to look at their skin color and assume that the origins are not from the United States. Did he? Now, was it outright racist? No, but he did bring race into the conversation.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Let's try to squeeze in one more quick caller. Let's go to Rudy. Rudy, I got about 45 seconds for you. Go.
I didn't forget about the police.
All right, we'll get rid of Rudy. Rudy, thank you for calling in. Was that's one of my favorite movies, by the way.
Which one?
Rudy. It's one of my favorite
great
movies.
flick.
I love that movie.
Talk about a guy coming from nothing and making something of himself. Unbelievable.
So I got two words for you guys before we go to break. Trump apologist. Those are the type of callers we are getting right now. And first of all, it's a cop-out to say that everybody in the United States is a racist. By the way, that is 100% false, okay? Number two wrongs do not make a right. So even if you're correct and you think Ocasio-Cortez made a racist comment, or if you think Pelosi's a racist, which, by the way, I don't think, does that make it right for the president of the United States to make racist comments? Of course not.
But number three, being a white nationalist is not the same as being a white supremacist. And Ocasio-Cortez is accusing Trump of being just that when he is not.
Well, I'll tell you what. We will address that when we come back from break, and we'll take your phone calls at 257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. We will continue this conversation on the other side of the break. You're listening to The Vegas Take. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. If you missed the big announcement, we are going to be moving this show 9 a.m. to noon, expanding the show to 3 hours on this very, very large, powerful 50,000-watt station. That'll be starting on August 12th. So that'll be a lot of fun. The same takes from a Vegas perspective back at you. More content. I think a better time slot. That's just my personal opinion, and we're very happy. So a reminder again, August 12th, 9 a.m. to noon, we are switching over. Kim Goldman, by the way, the late, of course, you know, the late Ronald Goldman. This is his sister. Going to be talking to us a little bit about her new podcast coming up at the top of the hour. Barry Brandt, our tennis guru, he picked two winners over the weekend. He picked Djokovic and Simone Halep. We'll talk to him a little bit about that. I think it was one of the most, if not the most epic tennis match of all time. We'll get to that coming up in hour number 2. Chris Wynn in studio along with my co-host, J.D. Sharp. I am Brian Shapiro. And we're going to continue to take your calls at 257-5396. We're talking about the situation that took place over the weekend. Very sad situation with our president, once again, in my opinion, making an ass of himself, saying, go back to your crime-infested places, go back to your country. To several women, 3 of them were born in the United States of America. It is just an absolute disgrace. It's sad. It's pathetic. You could call it racist. You could go that far if you want to. I don't think that's a stretch. And why is it important? Why are we talking about this? Why is it important? Well, for starters, as I mentioned earlier, we are so desensitized with this guy, our president. It's almost like we just expect it and we're just sick of it. We're sick of hearing about it. But I believe that he should continue to be called out when he makes racist statements like this. He should continue to be attacked. Listen, regardless of whether he wins in 2020 or not, that's not the point here. The point being is you have 4 women in office. I don't agree with them all the time. I've said that a million times when it comes to a few of them, including Omar. I think I agree with Trump when he says she probably is anti-Semitic. She probably is. I don't like her. I'm not a fan. But that doesn't mean you go after her skin color. That doesn't mean you go after where she came from. Ocasio-Cortez was born in New York. What does he mean, go back to your country? I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. It's insane. And we're taking your calls at 702-257-5396. I'm laughing because I'm talking about the president of the United States, folks. This isn't like somebody you work with, which would be bad enough. Maybe an Uber driver, somebody, you took a trip somewhere and someone said so. This is the president of the United States that is attacking some brown women, females that are powerful, okay? For what reason? This is how you attack. It's incredible. 257-539. I'm laughing because I just cannot believe that in this day and age, has Donald Trump not learned his lesson yet?
Another thing that we're not thinking about here is if Kamala Harris wins the Democratic nomination, this is going to be brought up constantly, and he will not be able to attack her for being a woman or a woman of color. He's going to have to 100% run against her on policy.
And you know what's remarkable, you guys, is that we did the first half hour of the show about what went down on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Brian, we haven't even talked about what he said today when it came to doubling down and reiterating what it is that he was trying to point out on Sunday morning. Did we not?
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about it.
Yeah. He refuses to apologize, and you're right. He did double down.
And you know what's remarkable and quite disgusting, to be honest with you, from my standpoint, when it comes to our president, is he is quite frequently guilty of doing things that he claims others do. And what I mean by that is this. When he calls people un-American, right? When he says things that, that other people are racist, other people, don't have America's best interests in mind, it is him actually doing things and saying things that would give us the indication that he is that way. And it is absolutely, unequivocally un-American if you're going to say that about some sitting lawmakers that were duly elected to the Congress, that were born, 3 of them born in the United States of America, and 1 that was born in Somalia and moved here when she was a teenager. All right? And you're going to say, go back to your countries or go back to your place of origin or where it is that your ethnicity is from, right? A lot of people, okay, and I believe there's a lot of Trump supporters out there and Republicans that would agree with me, that would say, if a Democrat said that, it would be absolutely un-American.
257-5396. Let's go to Scott. Scott, what's going on? Scott, are you there? Scotty, beam me up. I think we lost Scott. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the program, 257-5396. Look, it's pretty simple, guys. This isn't difficult here. If you're not biased, unfortunately, a lot of people in this country are. If you're not biased on the right or the left, regardless of whether you voted for Donald Trump or not, if you want to speak the truth and you want to be intellectually honest, you say to yourself, yeah, Trump says a lot of stupid things. I wish he'd stop the rhetoric. But then when you get to this level, when you go after 4 women in Congress and you make racially charged comments, there's no question about it. And this isn't the first time he's done it. This isn't the first time he's made racially charged remarks. We remember Charlottesville. There's good people on both sides. And I can give you plenty of other examples. Mm-hmm. So this isn't, first time he said something dumb. Okay, well, I guess we should maybe give the guy a pass. And I think it's truly important to recognize what JD said. And that is, I believe right now, if you ask me who is best fit to defeat the president on the world stage in a debate, it is Kamala Harris. For that reason, not just because she's African American, not just because she's a female, but I think she is an excellent debater. As a former prosecutor, she has excellent debating skills. She's extremely intelligent. And call me crazy, I think she has a better chance to beat Donald Trump than Joe Biden. Right now, I could change my mind down the road. There's plenty of more debates. We got some at the end of the month that we're going to be covering. But right now, it's Kamala Harris. And if Kamala Harris, I think he's actually doing her a favor by making these remarks. I really do. I think it's going to help her. I don't think it's going to hurt her.
Absolutely.
And I think...
And she stands much better of a chance than Joe Biden ever does against Donald Trump.
No question.
Well, you guys do understand the dynamics are going to change so much when it comes to the 2020 election here just in a matter of months. And you think about it, whether it's Kamala Harris, whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's even one of the outliers, right? Whether it's even, which I don't think is going to happen, Elizabeth Warren, someone like that. The point being is that it's going to be, but Democrats are going to, JD and Brian, Democrats are going to solidify themselves behind whoever the choice is. Whoever the choice is, they're going to obviously pick a running mate, and then it's going to be we're all in this same boat together when it comes to Democrats.
Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, it wasn't really a racially charged race.
Yeah.
If this ends up Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, this will be the most racially charged race in 50 years.
Well, JD, you would agree with me,
right? The conversation is going to be black, white, black, white. I mean, that'll be the conversation.
But guys,
it will be terrible for racial relations, especially after what he's saying right now.
Here's something we haven't even brought up. Where's Melania Trump in all this? And in no way, shape, or form am I blaming for her dummy husband's comments.
I'll tell you something crazy.
But Melania Trump wasn't born in this country. Where is she on this issue?
Well, you know, it's funny, Brian, you bring that up. Ilhan Omar has been an American citizen longer than Melania Trump has.
Yeah. Where is
I mean, that's classic.
Where is Melania Trump?
Well, no, and you bring up a great point, Brian. And this is the discussion. It's about Republicans and their response to this here in the past 24 hours. Whether it has been Ken Cuccinelli, of course, who's made statements all over media about how basically playing dumb about Donald Trump's tweets. There's been some other high-profile Republican lawmakers also, you guys, that have come out and either played dumb or tried to make some rationale as to why it was okay for Donald Trump to make the statements, saying things like, well, yeah, these lawmakers, they don't have a love for America, a.k.a. Lindsey Graham, who came out today and said some things that were completely ridiculous.
I understand what he was trying to say. I get that. He was trying to say, okay, you hate America so much, but the place that or why don't you go help out another country then? Because they need your help so much. We don't need your help. You can leave if you don't like it here. But the problem is he brought the skin color into the equation, and he did not need to do that.
And here's something that is not factual that you repeated that he said about the hate stuff. Yeah, that's what Donald Trump said. Just because you are critical of America and policies does not mean you hate America. Melania Trump,
would you say that Megan Rapinoe hates America?
No.
No, absolutely not.
not.
And also, yes, you're right, Brian.
But she hates Trump's America?
Donald Trump did say that today. He said that these women hate America, quote unquote, which is not factually
Doesn't
accurate.
mean you hate America because you criticize policy. Let's take some phone calls at 257-5396. Let's go to Neil. Neil, what's going on?
Brian.
Yes, sir.
Quick little sidebar. We need some young blood in the Senate. All right? If you're north of 85 years old, you need to be able to show people you could do 10 jumping jacks without stopping.
Well, wait a second. There's no chance Donald Trump could do 10 jumping jacks.
Do you think so you're thinking there should be like a PT test, right, for lawmakers in the Senate?
Some like minimal agility test.
Yes.
10 jumping jacks.
How about a wet T-shirt contest involving Donald Trump? Would you like to see that?
Well, we could throw that in.
That'd be great. I would love to see that. Yes.
Package deal.
That would do very well on YouTube.
Neil, I like the way you think.
Let me get to the racism conversation.
Yes, sir.
I think he missed an opportunity after Charlottesville, by not coming down more strongly against the white supremacists.
I agree.
But having said that, okay, the most recent, incident with these 4 congresswomen, I don't know. It seems like they throw around this word racism so cavalierly, and I really don't think what he's saying is all that bad. You could, kill me for saying that, but that's what I
think. Well, we're not going to kill you. I'm just going to criticize you.
It's not that bad, but he by default, because these women were born in the United States, he is bringing race into the equation because the only connection to those countries is their skin color.
Chris? I disagree with you. It's not about skin color. They're being vulgar. They're
Wait, hold on a second. What first of all, what do you mean vulgar? What if they said that was vulgar?
Well, I'm not too crazy about Talib. I've heard some of her comments, and neither
am I. I'm not crazy about any of them, but it doesn't mean you say go back to your country. Number one, 3 of the 4 were born in the United States of America. Wouldn't you call that vulgar?
No, I would not. I mean, I think that their conversation, what they're saying, is counterproductive. It doesn't help anything.
And Donald Trump is saying is counterproductive.
So you're saying that Donald Trump is okay, and you're making excuses for Trump being racist because you don't agree with the 4 congresswomen? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think he's racist. I mean, again, I'm not crazy about what happened after Charlottesville.
Okay, well, let me leave out the racism. Because you believe that what his comments on Sunday morning, okay, you believe they are justified because of what you think the 4 congresswomen represent and what they have been saying? Because 2 minutes ago, you just said that you think it's the 4 congresswomen that are calling Trump out for being racist. Yes, they are, but it's not just them. It's not just them. It is a lot of Americans out there that are disgusted with the comments that the president made on Sunday. It's not just the four congresswomen.
A lot of Americans think what he's saying is very patriotic, and he's defending the country.
I disagree. Okay, Neil, with all due respect, and I appreciate the call, to say telling women to go back to their country, even if they were born in other countries, which 3 of the 4 of them were not, they were born in the United States of America, to call something like that patriotic is the buffoon comment of the year on this show, quite frankly. And we've had quite a few ridiculous comments. To call the president patriotic for the comments he made on Twitter over the weekend, with all due respect, is beyond idiotic. I can't even say what I want to say on the radio. That's how bad that comment is.
But Neil is right, though, when he says there's a lot of people that agree with him, because, yes, Neil, there are a lot of people out there that are deplorable individuals here in this country that are racists that do agree with him. Yes, you're right.
Unfortunately, 257-5396. Let's go to Brad. Brad, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Love your show.
Thank you.
Per usual, you guys are fantastic.
Thank you.
Glad to hear you're moving. Had to check that out for sure.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that.
So the reaction to Trump, I mean, we've talked about this many times, but the reaction to Trump is predictable. So Trump first comes out and says, oh, Pelosi shouldn't be disrespected, and I don't think she's racist.
Mm-hmm.
Then he comes out and he attacks the 4 that Pelosi's in a feud with, in a blood war with.
Right.
And what's the reaction going to be? Well, those 4 probably have, if you look at all their policies, probably have about 20% of the U.S. Voting population in their pocket.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So if you're going to defend, and not you, but if one is going to defend and take their position, so now he's forced the Democrats to defend them. And I mean, think about it this way. You've been out of the country. We've all been out of the country.
Sure.
When you come back in the country, you have to have a passport to prove who you are. I've been to a lot of different countries, as have you, I'm sure.
Yep.
And there's no country in the world that you can go into without a passport and generally a visa.
That's true.
Now we're saying, okay, you don't need a passport or a visa. Come on in, no problemo.
Nobody's saying that.
Who's saying that?
Nobody's saying that.
Well, of course,
we have laws in this country.
They want to
No, Chris is saying that. Chris was saying that for
They
a
want
while.
to decriminalize illegal immigration.
All right. Well, Brad, first of all, I appreciate your kind words. Thank you very much for the phone call, number one. I appreciate that. Not one Democrat in office is saying, go ahead and open up the borders.
And just let everybody in.
We will just welcome anybody come in. So that is not factually accurate. Again, I appreciate the call. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, what's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, Chuck. What's up?
Hey, have you ever heard in your lifetime in politics even 1 or 2 representatives that represent the United States speak to it in such a wacko tone?
In such a what tone? I'm sorry?
Wacko tone.
No. No, I haven't. Yeah. I haven't.
This is like unprecedented. This is unbelievable that we have people like this in office that have this kind of attitude towards the U.S., especially people with.
Are you talking about President Trump, or are you talking about the representatives?
I thought you were talking about Trump.
I thought you were talking about Donald Trump. He's not. He's talking about the representatives.
Everybody loves Trump, brother, and he's going to get reelected.
So let me ask you a question.
Here we go.
Okay, Chuck. So let me ask you a question. The first thing you did calling in was attacked the 4 women. But yet you have no problem with what the president said. Is that what you're saying?
He didn't attack them. He asked you a question about them.
I didn't attack anybody. I asked.
He made a general statement.
Okay, so let me. Okay, my mistake.
Putting words in my mouth.
Okay, my mistake. You're not my pal, by the way. So let's make that clear.
Yeah,
my mistake.
I thought you guys were friends.
Okay. Would you like to call me anything? So let me get this right. You're going after these 4 women for comments that you don't like, but yet you call into the show to call me names.
Well, actually,
so you are what we would call a hypocrite.
That's right. I turned the table on you, you bum.
You turned the table on me.
He asked you a question about the girls.
You don't like it. How does it feel, you bum?
It feels great.
Now he is absolutely attacking you.
Yeah.
Chuck, first of all, that's my co-host talking.
In 6 months,
so let me ask you a question, Chuck. So, Chuck, could I ask you a question since you asked me one? If you think this show is going, sure. Thank you. So since you think I'm a bum and you think this show is off the air in 6 months, why do you listen to it and call in all the time?
This is my first.
Exactly. Bye, Chuck. You bum. How does it feel, you bum? 257-5396. Let's go to Fred. Fred, what's going on?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great, Fred. What's up?
Thank you for taking my call. Now, to the first caller, when he said that he thinks that it wasn't that bad what Donald Trump said. Okay, I'm from South America. I'm an American citizen. I have 4 children. The children are listening to this man.
You're right. They are.
They know they come from South America. They're
right.
American.
Mm-hmm.
So one day they're going to be told, go back to where you came from. They're
Exactly. Exactly. I know.
The children are listening.
You're right.
What this caller don't understand is that when the president speaks, not only America listens, the whole world is listening.
Fred, I could not agree with you more. I appreciate the call. I'm sorry I got to cut you short because we got to go to break. But you're right. Look, make no mistake about it. The president sets an example. He is a role model. Sadly enough, there are kids that are listening. And I guarantee you when the president makes a statement like, go back to your country, so on and so forth, when he makes statements like that, there are people that are listening. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Kim Goldman, the sister of the late Ronald Goldman, will be joining us next. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.